Hi guys, Ben from Simplified Fitness Business and checking out today. Are you overly social on social media? Just because you can get yourself on every platform doesn't mean you should. I mean, everyone talks about getting your name out there and brand awareness, but are you spending way too much time and getting way too little back in return? Let's look at which ways to capitalize on your social media presence to get the most out of minimal time. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. Ben from Simplified Fitness Business. And look, today we're looking at socials. And if you're overly social on social media, let's be honest, getting yourself out on every single social media platform is about as effective as looking for a marriage proposal on Tinder. So if you haven't done it yet, hit like, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. As always, questions in the comments. And if you haven't yet, join the Facebook group, Simplified Fitness Business, link down below. Getting into it, it's 1 o'clock afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Let's go. So social media, there are so many options out there. And for those of us in Australia, we often think there's only like 5, 6, maybe 10 social media platforms. But when you start taking in all the other countries as well, and if you're an online fitness business, then you're going international as well. There are literally dozens and dozens and dozens. If you look at some of the bigger integration platforms, there's often up to 50 or 60 different social media platforms available to integrate with. So many choices out there, especially in some of the non-English speaking countries. So look, let's just focus on the big socials, I think, at the moment, because for most people, that's where we're starting our energies. And when we're first starting our business, when we think about getting social on social media, we're looking at the big things like Facebook and social media anyway to start with. So, I mean, in the past, I've spent a lot of energy, and I mean a lot of energy and money on social media. I've been down Facebook where I was spending $100 a day on trying to generate leads and getting very little out of it. Like I was making my money back, but nowhere near the sort of the return on investment that I'm getting now from social media marketing. I was looking at doing websites and flyers and Facebook and social media via things like Instagram and Pinterest and Snapchat and Twitter, YouTube. Look, there was a lot of stuff that we were trying to do. And if you've ever heard the old saying, if you're good at everything, you're great at nothing. And that's kind of what it felt like for us with social media. Like if you've got a website, I've got a website. When I first started out, I did the website myself. Found a nice little site I could set up through WordPress. And I found that about every 6 or 7 months, it would get real buggy and start to crash. At least once a year, or normally about a year after I started running it, it would typically get infected or hacked or crashed for whatever reason. At one point there, my fitness company was apparently selling Viagra on Google. And that was because, I set the website up. I put it aside. It was set up how I wanted it. I didn't want it to have a big fancy website. I just wanted the information up there. Because I didn't really need to add anything new to it, I didn't. I had an SEO company handling a bit of that side of stuff. But at the end of the day, no one was actually managing the site because we weren't using it all the time. We weren't in there. We didn't notice when things changed. And it was only when my clients started telling me the website was dead that I realized it was gone. And the amount of money and time I spent setting the thing up, I mean, my first website I spent like $8,000 on. I did not get that money back. A huge waste of my investment. Back in those days, there wasn't things like Wix and a simple way Squarespace. You basically knew how to use WordPress or you paid a designer to do it. But even then, there was no guarantee it was going to stay up because you still had to maintain the thing. Social media like Facebook only really becomes relevant if you're posting in social all the time. Let's be honest, we've all got our preferences of social media. So I found that I was very gravitating towards Facebook because that suited me better. So as a result, my Twitter and my Instagram realistically got nothing. And all I was doing was cross-posting automatically from Facebook, which the algorithms don't really like that anyway. And I was getting very little out of return. So I found that the advice to get my name out there as many places as possible, while it was good on paper, it really didn't do anything besides drain my time. If you've ever had to build a website, again, from scratch for the 3rd or 4th time, it's for someone who's not used to doing it, it's weeks. And it's a lot of time away from building my business or doing anything that actually returns a lot on my investment. We did an audit 5-6 years ago on the business, and we looked at where all of our media and where all of our time was going and where all of the clients were actually coming back. And at the end of the day, we looked at our visits to our website, and honestly, the only real heavy visit pages were the calendars and the class descriptions, which we could put on our social media platforms. So we just stopped having a website. And people say, oh, you can't not do that. You've got to have a website. How will people find you? Yeah, we'll get to that. We looked at our social medias, and honestly, on Twitter, like if you look at the people and things that trend on Twitter, it's all about opinions and having a voice and saying things. And I wasn't overly interested in being political or connecting with people in that way. I just wanted to provide fitness advice and knowledge to them. And my preferred media was video. I found that the the Instagram stuff, the photos, we didn't really take a lot of photos. We typically did a lot of videos. Now, if you're the sort of person that does a lot of selfies and photos, that might work for you. But for us, we found that Facebook was the primary medium that we were actually active in, that we were gravitating to. More importantly, when we looked at where all of our leads were coming through, we had like a 98% of our lead source coming through Facebook. We asked our clients, where were you finding out about us? I saw you on Facebook. The other 2% were at events. So we were getting literally nothing that people were telling us from our website, literally nothing from any of our other social media platforms, like absolutely nothing. The only people that really looked at our Instagram or our Twitter or our YouTube or even mostly our website were actual clients that already existed. We're not going to maintain the website for them because they're not going to the website for that. All they were really looking for is things like calendars and videos of themselves from previous events. So, and because we were cross-posting all the same content on Facebook, they were getting it on Facebook anyway. So we found that literally 100% of our clients were active on Facebook. And while a few percentiles were coming from other areas, they were also active on Facebook at the same time. So by getting rid of all of our social media except Facebook, we actually had no difference. And in the last 5 years, we've grown our business, our fitness business, by 15 to 20% each year on Facebook alone. We don't have a website. We're actually building one of those for the first time again this year. We have a very, very average like media base on Instagram. We only have that active as a cross post for some of our bigger events. We don't do any active work on that at all. And all of our lead generation, all of our marketing, all goes through Facebook. We found that's worked best for us. Now, when we sort of dive in a little bit deeper there's a really obvious reason why that works. Because if you look at the audiences that are typically out in social medias, like the Facebook market is typically, older populations in that sort of 40 to 60 mark. Some of the older populations above 60 coming into Facebook now, but typically the younger generation are on Facebook, also on other medias as well. And if you looked at, if for those who've got teenage kids or 20-something-year-old kids, they were all on Snapchat, and Instagram was the go-to media for them. And the reason behind that was because their parents were on Facebook, so they didn't want to be on the same social media as their parents. So all that young crowd went there. And now those guys are growing up and having kids and moving forward. The next generation of social media will come through and so forth and so forth. And we found it was largely around avoiding their parents' social media or avoiding their parents seeing them on social media. Whereas sort of our clientele, who are typically average age of 42, we're actively live on Facebook. So when we talk about niching down your market, we talk about niching down everything. So we brought our marketing right back to the bare bones of where our clients actually existed on Facebook. We focused all of our marketing on Facebook. We focused all of our energies and our content on Facebook type material. And as a result, when we're on point with that, our lead flow and our generation and growth of our business overall is much, much faster and much, much smoother. And because we're only focusing on one platform, we only have to do one type of content. There's varied content, but we're not making content for all these different platforms. Like if you're looking at Snapchat and Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram, they're all very different types of media that are going to work well than Facebook. Typically, Facebook video format works really well, whereas on Twitter, that doesn't exist. Instagram, it's more pictures. You've got to be telling a story. The people that are really popular on things like Instagram, we found were more imagery, like a younger crowd who are more taking selfies and photos all the time, telling their story through photos. And if that's your crowd, then that will probably work better for you. But we found for us, Facebook was the way to go. But I said, my mistake at the past was we spent so much wasted time. Looking back now, I could have saved literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing and efforts, and not to mention the cost of time, by just using Facebook to start with. We really saw no benefit from the other social medias besides learning that we didn't need to be on the other social medias. So that was sort of our mistake in the past. But then when we got coaching, I was glad that we did a lot of research before we started getting people to help us out, because a lot of the coaching was always around the same stuff. I mean, when you look back through what advice you've probably heard before, more is better, which is no different than saying bigger is better. And we all know that's not true. Like, bigger is not always better. Often a bigger business is, if you're growing a business from a small business, as you start growing, you get more headaches. In business sense, bigger is not always better. Better is better. Bigger is not necessarily better though. We're looking for more efficient in business typically. And your marketing's the same. You want more efficiency from your marketing, a better return on a smaller investment. If you look at all the ads that you notice, like if you're watching this video right now, chances are the small snippet of the video you saw initially made you interested in watching this video. And that's why you're watching this video right now, because it actually hit home with you. You've noticed the ads that really hit home, you probably bought something from them because they really nailed it and they really niched down and targeted their audience correctly, which was you, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I guess. But we also seen those ads where you see them on Facebook and social medias, where the ads pop up and you've got no idea why you're looking at them. It's like, why is this even here? Like, for instance, I'm up in North Queensland or I'm currently operating, and I often see businesses advertising for Southeast Queensland or even different states of Australia, where they're not services that would typically be like their gyms selling memberships. So they're not things that would typically be done online or to a wide audience. They're typically very, very localized things, but you can see that their marketing and their niching is well off because they're hitting terrible markets and spending a lot of money and effort and time on marketing that's just really not coming home. So, I mean, the important thing to remember about social media is it's a marketing tool for businesses. On a personal side, it's a way to socialize and talk about your life and advertise your life, I guess. But on a business side, it's a hugely beneficial marketing tool, but only if used correctly. It's kind of like a sword. It's hugely beneficial if you're good with a sword and know what to do with it, but the likelihood of playing with a sword is you're just going to cut yourself. So marketing on social media is a bit the same. Using social media really effectively is hugely beneficial and an absolute weapon of a tool. But when you just play around with it, it typically just causes pain and injury. If you've done your marketing well and you're doing well with your marketing at the moment, you probably notice that you're doing well when you really niche down. Like, we see programs pop up all the time. Fit Over 40 is one that we use all the time. We don't say fit for anyone. We're looking for a very specific market of people, not because we only work with those people or we've got a program that specifically covers something for those people that would never work for anyone else. It's because if we're working with one specific type of population, we can really, really help and focus on that person. Think about your friends. It's the same. All of your friends are friends with you or you're friends with them because there's something in common. Maybe not exactly the same. We've all got that friend where we don't know why we're friends with them, but for most of your friends, it's because there's a commonality. Family is another good example. For your family, there's typically two veins here. There's family you get along with, you have something in common. And then there's a family that you don't get along with, typically because you just don't have anything in common or you're just too far different people. But I mean, when you're looking at your social media, it's very much along that same vein. Where are your audience? Your marketing is probably so focused on niche down on the exact type of people you want to help, but are you also focusing the platform you're putting that marketing on? Are you hyper-focused on a very specific niche market for your targeting, but not focused on a niche platform where those type of clients will be hanging out? Like, for instance, the Facebook market is typically an older population, at least by the numbers anyway. The majority of people on Facebook, if you look at the demographics across all of Facebook, are actually around that 35 to 55 mark. Some creep up to about 65, but that's where the bell curve is. That's where the peak is, and most of it's around that 45 to 55 mark. That's the vast majority of Facebook audiences. And you'll notice a very quick drop-off when you get below 30. So, I mean, who are you marketing for, and are you using that platform effectively? I mean, that's what the question we always ask when people have got their marketing dialed in. They go, it's just not returning things. The marketing is really good. And we look at their copy, and that's great. And we look at their ads and their video and their message, and it's all fantastic. It really nails on home. I say, well, where are you putting these? She goes, oh, we put it everywhere so everyone will see it. I say, well, that's just the thing. Your people aren't everywhere. So if I'm looking for a program for seniors, I'm probably not going to advertise in a nightclub district. If I'm marketing a program for children, I'm probably not going to put posters up at the bottle shop. So, you've got to look at where your client are actually hanging out. So if you've got specific programs for older clients and they're not going to be on certain types of platforms, you want to put them on spend your money and spend your time on those platforms. Yeah. So short answer is that copy and marketing, building a marketing program is no different than picking the social medias you're going to be active on. Like, as a small business trying to grow, you have very limited time, very limited resources. So you want to make sure you spend them where the biggest bang for your buck is. And we talk about this all the time, the 80-20 rule. Where are 80% of your population, of your clients, 80% of them, where are they hanging out? Where are the commonalities? If you're not sure and you've got a small client base already, really simple media thing is just a nice social thing. Send out a text message to all your clients, or just get in the habit of having personal conversations with them every day and spend a month doing it. Just ask people where they found you. Are they on social media? Have they liked your Facebook page? A really simple one is start up a Facebook group. Ask all of your clients to join the Facebook group because that's where you're putting up. Might be a bonus for recipes and things like that. And you're going to get typically one of two responses. One's going to be, yeah, great, that'd be fantastic. Or two, I don't do social media. And then that sort of gives you an idea of where people are. And you might also get the third response, which is probably a really important one. I use this social media. So they might say, I'm more on Twitter or Instagram. Do you have an Instagram page? And then you want to write down all these responses and look at the pool of audience. It's a really simple way to see where you should be spending all your time and energies. So if you've got a really good client base and you want more of those clients, find out where they hang out and spend all of your energy on that. So for instance, if I was selling baked goods, and I had a whole bunch of people buying baked goods off me, I'm going to ask them where they all hang out. Do they hang out at the Bakers Convention? Do they go to Bakers Facebook pages? Is there some sort of club they all hang out at? Is there some sort of webinar they all watch? I want to find out where those people hang out so I can find more of the same people. So it's the same for your clients as well. If you've got all these clients that are currently coming to you, find out where they hang out on social media, go there, because there's going to be more of those type of clients in that platform, yeah? So remember, your social media it's all about marketing for your business, building the brand of your business. You've got a couple of different ways you can use social media, but either way, you spin it, whether it's for marketing or content or just socialness. If you want more of the same clients, you want to find out where they all come from. Think of it this way. If you're fish where the fish are, you get fish, yeah? If you fish in the sea, you'll get fish. So if you fish in the forest, well, you get where I'm going here. So let's look at a couple of examples anyway. So hopefully going to help you guys clear this up a little bit. So we looked at the Facebook marketing and then the Facebook advertising. And if you haven't done so, you can jump into the Facebook group and you can actually go in and create audiences, and you can look at where all the audiences are. And there's a whole bunch of insight tools there, not only showing where your page is, but if you take off your page as the filter, you can see Facebook marketing across your state or your country or even the globe. So you can really narrow down audiences if you go to create an audience section in Facebook to find out what age brackets are actually on Facebook in your area, which is going to be a really handy tool for you if you have a very specific age bracket, or maybe you're just looking to work with a specific age bracket. But for Facebook, it's typically around that sort of 40 to 60 mark is a good estimate, yeah? I work with 35 to 55, but that's in my area. That's going to be slightly different where you are. So Instagram, typically that younger market again. And now if you're someone who's more into the selfies and taking photos as opposed to videos, you do a lot of that, posting video photos all the time, that motivational type content, Instagram's going to be your go-to. Because the people that are on Instagram are looking for that sort of content. They're not looking for video as much. They're looking for short, fast, impressionable stuff. The latest sensation at the moment is TikTok. If you like to do some fun stuff and some gaggy stuff and some entertaining stuff, and that's your sort of personality and that's the business vibe that you create, that's going to be a really cool place to be as well. But remember, the people on TikTok typically aren't overly looking for marketing. They're typically killing time. So you've got to look at the types of people on that platform. They're not going to be people that are looking for content to consume. They're probably more people looking to fill in time at work. While you can deliver lots of free content, TikTok is a very short format, whereas Facebook people will typically watch videos. They're anywhere between 1 to 10 minutes. On TikTok, you've probably got about 1 minute at best. About 30 seconds to about 90 seconds is about as long as you're going to get on that sort of stuff. If you look at Twitter, there's not really a video or picture content there. It's more about opinions and chatting. So it's definitely more of a how was your day sort of thing. And while there is a market for Twitter out there, it's definitely a lot more challenging to do so. Yeah. We've even seen people capitalize on Snapchat previously before. I found Snapchat, when we did use it, wasn't much for broadcasting content, but it was a very good marketing tool to connect with a younger audience. So to have conversations with people, you could actually have a back and forth conversation with some younger. So if you're a younger population, that would be quite good. But in recent times, Snapchat is not overly as popular anymore anyway. So you've got other ways of doing it. And with the growth of Facebook and Instagram's connection there and things like video calls, you've got a massive sort of arsenal at your hands just by using those big sort of social medias there. And if you're in some of the other social medias and there's dozens and dozens of them, you really got to know what sort of people are on there. If you're not sure, just watch a heap of content for like an hour and look at the types of people that might watch that content. If you're seeing a lot of content like that you provide, then it's probably a good market for you to start looking at. But if you're just seeing a lot of stuff that's nothing like what you provide, it's probably not going to be a good starting point. There's lots of ways you can use social media as well. And this is a big one. Everyone always asks, so how do I capitalize on social media? Number one rule I learned in sales is that you don't sell on social media. Now, I'll say that again. You don't sell on social media. You might get lots of sales and leads from social media, but you don't sell on social media. So one thing I always got taught from my mentors is, and the big shout out to the guys at Snipers for this one, Matt, champion, is that you want to take them off social media. You connect with them on social media. But the goal from any social media conversation is get them off social media as quickly as possible so you can get into a conversation with them and actually start to find out more about their problems and provide some sort of solution for their problem. So the social media thing is, if you're trying to put marketing, like if you ever looked at our Facebook pages and things like that, we don't put any pricing on our Facebook page, because if someone sees your ad and they see the price, they're going to make a judgment on value based solely on what they saw in that 10 seconds. Now, there's very little you can convey in a 10-second ad, and if it's a picture, it's even less. And you're not going to be able to convey accurately in that person's language likely what they need to see. So they're going to make a value judgment based on, it's a fitness service. I assume it's kind of like a gym. Is this amount of money worth it? What am I going to have to give up for this amount of money? Like if your program's $100, they're going to think, well, what else could I get for $100? And they're going to weigh it up between the two. Like they might go, well, $100 is a weekend away, and $100 for your program is a bit of fitness. I'd rather have the weekend away. They're making judgments like that, which is not overly beneficial. So you want to get them off social media. So, I mean, I found the most beneficial way is I don't want to create a instant buy sensation on social media. I want to create an audience. I want to create a following on social media. So we work on the principle of flooding content. So as much useful content for my clients as humanly possible going out on social media all the time, so that they're continually getting sources of information. Now, it's not all going to be targeted to the same sort of person. It's not going to be all relevant to every person. But if I can have my audience watching my Facebook page and at least once a week or even once a month getting some valuable content for me that helped a little bit, then they're going to continually see me as a solution to potentially part of their problems. And they may not be ready to buy just yet, but when they are, and they see the next ad or they see the next content, at that point, they're likely to reach out and ask some questions. And at that point, I can now move off Facebook and start a conversation. And that's the real power of social media. So rather than trying to sell on social media, you want to find out where your audience are, what type of audience you're marketing towards, and make sure all your copy points towards them people. Put all of your energies as much as possible into the areas where your audience are actually hanging out. Now, there might be one or two or even three social media platforms in your area that are going to be relevant. It's not always just going to be one. But I can tell you now, the least effective way is to do something like a fly drop where you literally just send a fly to literally everyone. It's not going to work that way. So you want to put all of your energies where your people are. Easiest way, as I said, to do that is to find out where your people are by talking to your existing people. Where do your existing people hang out? And put more energies into that area. And if you see a bit of an uptake in leads or an uptake in interest, you know that you're on the right path, yeah? Next is to provide content that actually creates value. Remember that a social media is, while most people on social media are looking for instant gratification, social media is actually a long game. It's not a short game. It's not a matter of just putting out a heap of ads for a program starting in 2 weeks and getting a heap of people come in. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get some bites. But if you really want to be successful on social media, it's got to be a long game. Now, you can't post twice a day, every day for the rest of your life. That's very, very time consuming. You have to start scheduling things out. My advice there is to start small. It doesn't need to be every day, but it does need to be consistent. If you just do once a week, that's consistency. If you do twice a week, that's consistency. But if you do 3 times a week, every couple of weeks, that's not consistent, and you're not going to see any momentum develop. It's kind of like if I'm pushing something along the ground, like I'm pushing my car and I push moderate effort, the car's going to move slowly. And as long as I keep applying that moderate effort, I'm probably not going to get real tired, and eventually I'll get the car there. It'll take longer, but it'll get there. But if I push really hard and move the car quickly, I have to stop and rest all the time. So I'm continually stopping, continually resting, and continually stopping my progress. And at some point, it's going to get just too hard to get started again. So it's easy to maintain momentum than it is to continue starting again. So start with social media in the same way. Start very small. Focus on consistency first, and then you can build the intensity or the volume. Cool? So that's our social media. I hope that really helped, guys. As I said right back at the start, being good at every social media means you'll be great at none. Narrow your social media right back. Look at the sources of social media that are actually paying back dividends to you, actually getting some return, actually getting some engagement. Remember, likes mean nothing. It's all about engagement. Who actually engages in your posts? That's replies, comments, emotions, any sort of requests or Facebook messages or things like that. Put as much effort as you can into those people or those areas. But when I say as much effort as I can, I don't mean put a huge volume of effort. I mean put the effort that you can maintain consistently. So if that means starting small, start small. If you're not good at video, don't do video. Take photos and tell stories. But my advice to all social media people is that if you want to get good at marketing, you do have to get good at video. It's really the way. It takes practice, but it's well worth the effort in the end. And if it's really just not your thing, definitely give some consideration to hiring someone that is good to be part of your business that can help you with that. Being a face for the business, if you will. Cool. Not everyone's cut out for video. Not everyone likes it. I myself really struggle with video. I have to really work on it. And for me, it's always an effort to do it. But over time, it's got much, much easier to do. And from everyone else looking in, it seems easy. But for me, it's always a struggle. And it always takes a bit of preparation. But the dividends has always been worth it as long as I'm consistent with it. When I'm not consistent, it doesn't work out. So guys, that's it for social media. Hope that helped out a lot. As I said, if you haven't done yet, hit like and subscribe. And if you're not in our Facebook group, Simplified Fitness Business, get in there. Lots of episodes every week and a lot of extra content in there as well, a lot of downloadables and anything we can do to help your business. That's our goal, to help your business life be simpler and smoother. The goal is not to fill your head full of more information. It's to take all of the information you've got, cut it right back down to be simple, easy to progress. Cool. All right, guys, have an awesome day, and I will see you on the next episode.